Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond Loss, Loving Life with Karen Chaston. Today we are going to have so much fun. We're going to deep dive into loss, as we also do, but we're also going to deep dive into something completely different, something that I haven't done before live on a video or on a webinar or on a show before. So I'm going to have fun with everyone, and I'm really looking forward to everyone playing with me. So I'll get the comments up. Welcome to everyone. Welcome, Christine. So great to see you here today. So I'm not sure if you actually heard me, what we're going to do today, but we're going to, as always, we're going to deep dive into loss. But more importantly, we're going to deep dive into Virginia Satir. I'm pretty sure that's how you say her name, Satir. She created the 5 freedoms. And so we're going to deep dive into each of the 5 freedoms, and we're going to just see what comes up for you. It'll be really great if you can all play with me today and deep dive in, asking questions, sharing your wisdom, sharing your knowledge. And we all have it. We all have wisdom. We all have knowledge. And it's always great to be able to impart it onto other people because our perspectives matter. It's our opinions and our perspectives. And so often we're shut down, or we have fear in expressing what our opinions are because we have fear of ridicule. And to be quite honest, it really doesn't matter what anyone else thinks about what you have to say or feel, because it's your opinion, and it's time for us to own it. So that's what we're going to do today. But I'm going to share my screen. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so as always, for all of the people who haven't been here before, I love to share the fact that there are over 40 different loss events that can affect all of our lives, not just one or two, every single one of us. And of course, the main ones are death, divorce, partnership breakdown, job loss, your health, your wealth, your pets. But in the 2020 pandemic, a lot of the minor ones came to the forefront. Things like loss of freedom, loss of choice, loss of status, changing work conditions, changing recreational activities, changing social activities. So we're going to deep dive, as always. I'm going to show you exactly what those 40 plus different loss events can be. And when you look at them, you can clearly see that, oh my God, I've had a lot of those. But more importantly, loss is change. And what loss is all about, it's the fact that, we haven't been taught how to move beyond loss. That's what causes us the grieving and the suffering, because when you know what to do, you don't go into the grieving and the suffering. You go, right, this is how I move beyond. This is how I become more resilient. And that's the beauty of it. And that's the things that is really important for us to all to know and to understand, that when we know what to do, we don't do the deep dive into us. We don't go down and never get back up. We get up really easily. Probably in some people's opinions far too easily, but that's their stuff, not yours, because they haven't learned how to move beyond loss. And that's what I love to share with people, is I love to assist them to be able to easily move beyond any kind of loss and create their better everyday life. Because as I just said, loss is change, okay? Loss is change. It's really important for us all to understand that. And what loss is about is, I'm going to be different today to who I was yesterday, because I can't be that same person again, because that same person isn't me anymore, because this loss event has occurred. So therefore, moving forward, I need to create a new me. And, I may bring a lot of me forward into this new person, but there may be some things that I want to stop doing. There may be some things I want to start doing. And of course, there'll always be some things that you want to keep doing. So that's what loss is all about. So let's today And you've probably heard me say loss of freedom. Well, Virginia Satir. Now, Virginia Satir was an American author, psychotherapist, and she lived from like 1916 to 1988. And she was sort of classed as the mother of family, and which is amazing because she understood the dynamics of family and she understood the relationships and how we can have ups and downs in most families. And it's, let's face it, the fact that we are all so different in that family environment, in that family unit, that's how we create balance. But because we're all so different, that also creates some not so ideal times where we may not speak to each other for a little while, or there may be something that occurs. So that's what it's all about. We are about us, figuring out what to do. So with these 5 freedoms that Virginia Satir created, obviously a while ago because she passed away in 88. So it's really good for us to embrace these in our life, in our way moving forward. So thanks for everyone for being here. Please say hi, Karen. Let me know as we go through these 5 different things. Good morning, Christine, and good morning, Efrasoni. Is that how I pronounce your name? If not, I apologize. But great to see you here. Let me know where you're from, and let's deep dive in. Okay, let me come back to where we were here. Okay, so the very first one is to see and hear what is here. So to see and hear what is here instead of what it should be, was, or will be. So let's expand this. Okay. So often we have in our minds that, let's stay with the family theme for this one, that this is how a family should be. This is the way that we should talk to each other. This is the way we should act when we're together. But so often it doesn't fit into that little box. So here we are trying to make it be what we think it is instead of accepting what it is and just being present with it and just allowing it to be what it is. Because the funny thing is that the more that you allow things to be as they are, the more that they will actually be enhanced and the way they will move forward, because it'll just be a natural progression for the family or whatever the situation is, even if it's in the workplace. So often we can look at something and go, oh my God, this isn't right. This isn't how it should be. But we're not saying, but this is how it is. So what would we like to do with it? Let's actually say this is it. Do we want it to be that moving forward? And if we decide, well, no, we don't, that's when we can start to take action steps after a bit of planning to ensure that we actually can make it into something that it is. So there's no point in being in the present moment, being all upset and going, oh my God, it shouldn't be like this. It should be so much easier. Okay, this is what it is at the moment. Moving forward, we would like it to be different. So what is those action steps that we need to take to close that gap and close that gap and close that gap so that we can actually create what we would like in the future? Now, I'm going to share a little story with you, and I may have shared it with you a few weeks ago, but I'm going to share it again. So people who are on my show regularly, they know that I've had a lot of loss in my life, as we all have, right? But I share my losses, obviously, because it's one of the easiest things to do to help people to understand that it's okay to talk about what has happened in your life. There is no need for you to bury it deep, deep, deep down inside of you. It's okay to actually talk about it. So a few weeks ago, I shared that when I was 16, I chose to adopt my daughter out because I was 16. I obviously didn't want to marry her father. And, my parents would have supported me, but it was 1973, completely different world to what it is now. Not that I'm justifying it by saying that, I'm just setting the scenario so you can understand that it was a different world to what it is today. Because single mothers were not accepted as they are today. There was a lot of shame and guilt put onto them, whereas now there may still be that, but not to the degree. And they have the financial support now, whereas we never had that back in 1973. So my daughter is in my life, and for a long time, we wouldn't, if we come back to what I'm talking about here, we honestly didn't see and hear each other. Our conversations were us interpreting what the other person said the way that we wanted to interpret them. We didn't do the deep dive into what is it that we're seeing and hearing now? Not what it should be, or not what it was or will be. It's about what is going on in this scenario at this moment. And if we'd both taken a step back, we would have had a more loving relationship, the loving relationship that we have now, a lot sooner if we had taken the time to see and hear what is here now instead of what it should be or what it was or what it will be. And this is what I keep saying to myself and also my daughter. We can't change the past, okay? We can't go back and say, oh, my God, I should have done this and I should have done this and all this sort of stuff. Maybe you should have. But at the time, you did and said the right thing for who you were there, knowing what you knew then, understanding who you are. So it's really important for us to understand this and to embrace this. Now, if you have any questions, because there's 5 of these as we go through it, please let me know, and before I move on to the next one. So quickly type it in. Hi, Kylie. Great to see you here. Okay. Thanks, Kylie. And it is so true. So these are the 5 things that, and I'll post the whole 5 together in the comments so that you can copy them really easily when I put them all together after I have listed all 5 of these. Okay, so let's move on to the second one. Let's move on to the second one when I get my little cursor over there. Okay. To say. Now, the first one was to see and hear. The next one is to say what one feels and thinks instead of what one should. This applies for me and my husband. Great, Petra, and thank you for actually typing in. So do you want to expand on that? I gather that this related because you just typed it as I went under the second one. So I assume it applies to the first one, to say and hear. And good on you for saying that, because so often we don't see and hear what's actually going on. We interpret it with our own limiting beliefs, and we interpret it from our perspective, which is not always the great way. This is me and my dad. Dad's why or the highway. Obviously, I guess you mean why. And isn't that a shame? Because, Christine, one of the things that really did pull my daughter and me apart for a long time was her father who adopted her. He didn't want to know anything about me. And he said right from the beginning, when she chose to find me, or I should actually say chose to answer the letter that I had sent to her 5 years earlier, he said, fine, you do what you have to, but never ever talk to me about this ever again. And of course, she never did, but that's what caused a lot of the angst. She felt like she was living a double life. But then eventually, like, her father has passed, but we've recently had a conversation with her father on the other side, and her father actually said, I'm not going to apologize for what I did then because I didn't know all the facts. So because her father had never been told that my son Dan had passed away, and see, was when my Dan passed away, my daughter wanted to have more contact with me because it really made her realize that just because her parents are older than me, it doesn't mean they'll pass before me. And she thought, I can't wait. I can't wait to have a relationship with my birth mother. I can't wait for my adoptive parents to pass before I have that relationship. And it's really important for us all to understand that, because it's really important for you all to know that the date has probably been set for when we're going to pass. We just don't know when it is, okay? It could be later today. It could be in a month's time. It could be in 20 years' time. We just don't know. But know that the date has been set, okay? You just haven't received the invitation yet. So it's really important that if you have something in your life that you are putting off, waiting for something else to occur before you'll embrace it, don't do it. Just don't do it. We only have the present, okay? It's called the present because it's a gift. It's the only gift that you are ever guaranteed for time, okay? The present. So it's really important for you all to embrace this, because my daughter learnt this the hard way. We could have had a loving relationship and many memorable memories, loving memorable memories, instead of our angst for the past like 16, 17 years. It really is a long time. So it's really important for you to really embrace this and to not only see and hear, but to say what you feel and think instead of what one should feel and think. So often we hold back on what we're going to say for fear of ridicule, for fear of shame or blame, or any of those negative emotions being broadcast to us. But you know what? No one can tell you how to feel. No one can tell you how to think. It's your responsibility to obviously educate yourself and to ensure that you have emotional intelligence as well as mental intelligence. And the more that you broaden your horizon, the more the things that you read, the more that you mix with people from different countries and cultures, and the more that your perspective will broaden. You know, I think it was Mark Twain that said, a man who never travels is a very limited man. And it's so true, because until you start to travel and start to mix with different sort of ways of thinking and talking and viewing the world, that's how you can actually know that you are living your best life, because we don't know what we don't know. And it's that simple. So really, really start to embrace these five. Eventually, we've done two already. Great wisdoms from the Virginia satire. Okay, I'll go to notes. Okay. Right. Yep, I've read Christine's. Okay, Petra. We hear each other with how we used to be and think. We don't look at each other in the present. Oh, Petra, thank you for sharing that. It's really funny, you know. I saw, and I'm going to find it on my phone, because I actually posted it. I actually found this little thing on Facebook, and it was so beautiful that I read it, and then I showed it to my husband, and I thanked him, because it was literally what my husband has done with me. And believe me, we've been married 43 years, and I got married in the March, and I turned 21 in the June. So yeah, you can figure it out. I'm 64 next week. But what it is really interesting is that I'm a completely different person. And let's face it, 43 years later, if you're not a completely different person, there's something wrong with you. But people marry the person they marry, and sometimes they don't want them to change. Sometimes they love them the way they are. But we've both been on a big journey together, and of course we've both experienced the loss of our son, which in itself can either make or break a lot of marriages. But it's really important, and I've got to find it because it's such a beautiful thing. It's not that. I think this is. Yes, it is. Okay. Okay, you ready? So I'm going to read it to you. In order to make a relationship last, you really have to flow with a person as they change. Give them space. My friend always told me about his grandfather who was with his wife for 60 years before she passed. His grandfather said that through all of that time, his wife changed so much, it felt like he had been with 8 different people by the end. But he said the secret to making it last was that through all those changes, he never suffocated his wife with his own idea on who he expected her to be. Rather, he loved fully every new woman she became. Now, that obviously works both ways. And isn't that the most amazing realization to have? So, Petra, I really hope that you can take that on board, and I'll post a copy of this at the end after the broadcast so for everyone to see, and I'll post it under your comment, Petra, the copy, because as you can see, it's like a little it was a photo that I've taken of it. So enjoy it. And Petra, yeah, I totally loved it too, which is why I showed it to my husband and I said thank you, because he has never said, no, you can't change like that. You can't do that. He's gone with the flow, as I have with him. And that's the secret to a long and happy marriage, for anyone to understand that you're not going to be the same person tomorrow, next week, let alone 20 or 30 or 40 or 50, in this case, 60 years later. So it's really important to realize that you are going to change. Sure, you have a say in, I don't like this, but do you know what? You always have that choice then, whether you want to go with them or if you want to go in a different direction, which is obviously why a lot of people decide to go in different directions. But hopefully, if you do go in different directions, you can actually still be friends, because I don't understand people who divorce and then cannot stand to be in the same room with that person ever again, because there is a way that you can excuse me. Excuse me. I've been talking for 20 minutes. So thank you. So there's always a way that you can move beyond any kind of loss. And obviously, if you don't know how to do it so that it's always amicable, reach out to me. And I'm going to share a link that for people who want to get onto my mailing list, and because I send emails all the time with wisdom and ways that you can move beyond any kind of loss. I'm going to share the link. Actually, I might share it now. I'll just copy it and share it now. So I'm going to share a link to my Beyond Loss, Life After Loss book. And once you download that, you'll obviously be in my mailing list. And then, of course, you can receive, wisdom and mail from me on a regular basis. Okay, so let me move on to some more comments before we go on to number 3. So, Christine, if we didn't do what Dad wanted or agreed with, he would get angry and then give the silent treatment. If it has affected me to voice myself so much in my older years. Interesting, Christine. And I must admit, I do not get it when men do the silent treatment. I've never understood it. I don't really understand it when women do it either, but I think it's more a feminine trait than a masculine trait. And I guess, of course, that's probably me being politically incorrect. So I apologize if I've offended anyone with that comment, but it's just my opinion. Okay, so it's my opinion. And my intention was not to offend anyone. It was just to state my opinion. So Petra, he's given you Christine. Christine, your dad's giving you a gift, okay? And he may have silenced your voice in when you were younger, but the gift that he's given you is for you to be able to utilize your voice in a way that you choose the words so that people understand, this is the way I feel. When you state your opinion, this is how I feel. Now, no one can be angry when you say, I disagree with you because this is how I feel, and this I feel is better for me. I appreciate what you're saying and I understand what you're saying, but for me, this is different. So I hope that it doesn't silence your voice moving forward, because we all have, these amazing things. We can hear, we can see, we can feel, we can speak. And to shut down any of our senses, any single one of them, obviously we can taste as well. And obviously we have spiritual values. That's our six senses. So it's really important that none of our senses are shut down in any way. So if you are not utilizing your voice, you will become sick in other ways because you're holding things in. And you're holding emotions in, or you're holding something in, and that's what gives us our illnesses. So it's really important, Christine, that you find a way to use your voice in a more loving way. And it can come down to the words that you choose to utilize. So, and if you're not sure how to do that, reach out to me. More than happy to have a chat with you. But I've said that a few weeks now, and it's up to you whether you do or not. Thank you, Hallie, for saying that I'll share my story. Karen, narcissist. I'm not sure what that comment relates to, Karen. So yeah, okay, I'll leave that with you. Thank you. Okay, let's go on now to the third, to our third little one, to feel. Okay, so we had to see and hear, to see and hear, then to say, and now to feel. To feel what one feels instead of what one ought to. Now, isn't it funny? I always find it funny when people say to me or to anyone, when I hear it, I know how you feel. Okay? Now, I would never say to any person who has also lost a child that I know how they feel. Yes, I have experienced losing a child, but I would never ever say, I know how you feel. I would say something like, I understand how you may feel because I've experienced something similar, but I would never say, I know how you feel, because we don't know how anyone feels. We have not walked an inch in their shoes. We don't know what their relationship was like. We don't know how anyone feels. And we may assume that we know how someone will react, but we don't know for sure. And it's really important for us to know that to feel what one feels instead of what one ought to is our way of being us. And it's our way of being authentic. So these 5 authentic freedoms that Virginia Satir has created is really about us owning this. And as we go through, you can see it's all about our senses, right? And it is for us to see and to hear and to speak and to feel, like to own who we are, and to say that the way I feel is right for me. Now, all you got to do is watch a movie and you can see everyone will have a different reaction. Sure, we all may cry at a similar time, but the way we cry and the memories that come up, the things that have invoked us to tears is not just the story we're watching. It's because we can relate to it. We've put ourselves into that scenario. And maybe we've been in a similar scenario, and that's what invokes all of the emotions. So it's really important that we honor who we are, and that's what today is all about. Any questions before I go on to number 4? I'm actually really going through these a lot quicker than I expected, but that's okay. That's fine. Haley, okay. So, yes, a narc trait, they do silent treatment. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you for saying that, because I didn't understand it. Okay, that's interesting, because I do know a few people that actually use that. And yeah, you're probably right. Now that I think about it, I didn't understand that. Thank you, Karen, for explaining that, and Haley as well. Right, Christine, if I find it hard to be in a high vibration and happy if the ones around me at a lower vibration and down. Okay, now, is that a judgment? I'm not saying it is a judgment. I'm asking you, Christine, are you judging the people and saying that you are higher, vibrating higher than them? Do you feel you've done more work than them, and that's why you can create that? I'm only asking questions. I'm not putting any of my judgment in there. I'm just asking you that, and I do understand that it isn't easy when you have been doing a lot of personal development on a spiritual level, on a mental level, on an emotional level, on every single personal level. I do understand that sometimes people are not as easy to be around when they have done none of it. And it's not easy to be around them, but maybe it was probably, let's go down, let's explore this sort of trait. Maybe you set it up that way, okay, so that you can be true to you, okay? And when I say set it up that way, I mean from the other side. And one of the great books that I highly recommend people to read is by Robert Schwartz, he's got 2 books, and I'm just going to look them up on my Kindle. Your Soul's Plan and Your Soul's Gift. Robert Schwartz. So the plan becomes before the gift. And I highly recommend that you read that, because it gives you insights into what happens before we come down here, and the soul's plan that we set up for this lifetime. And we do create in our planning session before we come down here people to be of a lower vibration around us, so that we can be true to who we are, so that we can actually go, am I going to go back to being like that, or am I going to continue on my spiritual journey? Because we're going to get tested. We're going to get tested all of the time. And a lot of the times, the people that test us are the people around us. And you may think, oh, why are they doing this? Why won't they do their own spiritual work? Well, maybe their lifetime isn't to be spiritually advancing in this lifetime. Maybe their lifetime is to be here, to be your tester, to be the way that you are, so that you can develop even further. And I know it seems sort of counterintuitive. Why can't they just come with me and we can do this journey together? But maybe it's not their journey to do. When I read that book, and I think it was the second one, and I'll explain it briefly, is what he does is he takes people back who have had life challenges back to their planning session with their guides and with higher beings to assist him and them. And they come back to the plan, and they can plan out why they chose what they did. Now, I have in my life someone, I'm not going to say who it is, who has been a drug addict for most of their life, okay? And I found it very, very challenging, and I had a lot of judgment on their choice of lifestyle. And when I read this book, because he did deep dive into different sort of scenarios, he even deep dived into adoption, he deep dived into murderers, pedophiles, he just deep dived into every sort of different lifestyle that we all can live, and the reason why we may choose that lifestyle, and the learnings that we will get from actually living that life. And of course, it's not easy. Some of those lives are horrific, especially if you're a drug dealer, in my opinion, or a murderer, or all of these sort of different things. So when I read it about this drug addict, I had a realization, because it actually clearly said that sometimes the person chooses this lifestyle for everyone else around them so that they can learn and grow. And I had this realization, oh my God, I have judged this person my whole life well, a lot of my life, for being in this lifestyle, whereas actually she was doing it as much for me as she was for herself. And it wasn't easy, right? But the next time I saw her, I apologized and I explained the book to her. And she said, you know what? It hasn't been an easy life. And a lot of the times I've wondered why I chose this lifestyle. But you've sort of given me some clarity as into why. So it was really, really interesting. I hope that helps. But if you stay true to your path and if you continue on your path, you will find that eventually when they start to see you living and loving the life that they possibly want, they may even come to you and say, look, how did you do that? I want what she's having. And it's not easy to start with, but eventually if you keep staying true to yourself, not lowering yourself to their vibration, but not being superior to their vibration either, but just realizing that you prefer to vibrate at this level because life is easier at this level. And believe me, the more you get out of the density, and let's face it, the world of the density is hard. So the more that you vibrate above it, the more you don't see it because you only attract what you vibrate at. Hope that answers your question. It was a long answer to your question, but I hope we got there, Christine. Petra, I have just come to the realization of that with my husband within the last few weeks. He's enabling me to do spiritual work in this lifetime. Interesting that he's allowing you the choice of words that you have chosen, Petra, but good on him. At the end of the day, you know, you were going to do it anyway. So he's probably come to the realization. Can you links to the book? Christine, yes, I will type in those books for you after the session, and I will also put them in there. But the names of the books are, what did I say? It's Robert Schwartz is the author, and it is, when I can find them in my long list of books, I love reading. Maybe that's what I'll do one Monday is I'll just have a book session. Okay, so it is Your Soul's Plan and Your Soul's Gift. There's the two books, okay? Your Soul's Plan, and then the second one is Your Soul's Gift. Robert Schwartz, SCHARWT says. Okay, so that's that. So now let's move on to number 4. Oh, my God, we're moving along so nicely here today, aren't we? And thank you all for being here. I do appreciate you being here, and I do appreciate you all playing with me. Because isn't that what life's about? Just one big playground for us all to have fun, enjoy, and to assist each other, as you all assist me, believe me, in designing a life that you can live and love each and every day, no matter what occurs in your life. Number 4 is to ask for what one wants instead of always waiting for permission. Now, isn't this an interesting one? So often we forget to ask. We do everything. We may dream about it. We may tell people about it. And, you know, even with our guides, and this is what I love from a spiritual point of view. So we all have guides. Every single one of us have guides with us. We have guides that may travel with us our whole lifetime. We will have different guides that will pop in and out when we're going through different scenarios in our lifetime. And yes, it was all set up when we did our soul's plan, who would come when and all this sort of stuff. But what we did, we forget to ask them. Now, we have free will. Our guides are with us, okay? They cannot interfere, okay, with what our choices are until we ask. So once we ask, and believe me, I'm pretty sure a lot of the time they are behind your back. But I'm going to take a sip before I say this. Just one moment. So I'm pretty sure that they're standing behind you going, don't do that. Karen, don't do that. Don't do that. And standing there going, Ask me, ask me, ask me, ask me for advice. Please, please, please. Just ask me, please. And I'll just guide you to go in a different direction, even if it's just a step in a different direction. It's about asking. So when you ask, okay, they can then answer. Okay. And it's all, but they'll always answer what's in your highest good and what's in the highest good of everyone on earth. Now, nothing will ever happen on earth that is not in the highest good of all of humanity. Okay? So if we go back to last year, to the 2020 pandemic, which has been horrific for a lot of people, has not been as bad for many people, but has also been okay. I've done my spiritual work. Okay, this is not going to put me into fear, and I'm going to just pivot. I'm going to go, right, okay, we're going this way now. We were going this way, but now we've got to go this way because of what's happened. You know, like last year, I was just about ready to launch my 3-day Beyond Loss retreat. I'd even booked and paid half of the money to have this amazing 3-day retreat down at Mantra at Salt Beach in northern New South Wales in Kingscliff. But of course, the pandemic came and of course we didn't do it. So what did I do? I didn't go into panic and go, oh my God, I've lost my money. I've done this, I've done that. No, I took all of my programs online because it was like, okay, I was going this way, but now I've got to go this way. So that's the beauty of asking. I asked for guidance. I asked for what was the best way to move forward. Okay. Now, this is from a spiritual point of view, but you can also ask your friends. So often we just suffer in silence because we can't let anyone know what we're going through. Because if I look at them, they never going through anything. Their life is perfect. Just look at them on social media. Their life is perfect. BS. No one's going to post when things aren't so ideal. But let's face it, it's about us asking. Not about us asking every single day the same person to help and come here and talk to us and continually bring us down. No, it's about asking, listening, and then taking the action steps. Okay, that's what asking is really about. It's not asking the same questions 20 times and never ever taking anyone's advice, because that's not asking, that's just talking. So when you asked because you would like advice. Still your free will whether you take it or not, but don't just keep asking the same question, taking no one's advice, and then wondering why your life hasn't moved forward. No, it's about asking, okay? Asking the question. And it may be just that you ask yourself. There are so many meaningful questions you can ask yourself. And always remember that for every question, there's an answer waiting to be revealed. And for every answer, there is an action step waiting to be taken. And after every action step, you're moving one step closer to your better way of life. It really is that simple. But the first step is to ask. You decide who you're going to ask that question of. Could be your guides, could be your higher self. It could be your inner knowing. It could be a well-trusted friend. It could be a mentor. It could be anyone. We live in a world of information. There is no reason why we cannot find the answers to the questions that we are asking. The biggest problem is that we don't ask. We don't ask. It's that simple. Okay? So I hope that we can really embrace this one. This is the fourth one. Okay. Right. Okay. And look, everyone's guilty as charged. it's not easy to ask. We've all been told to sit down and shut up for a long time in our lives. Or we've also been told your question doesn't matter. Why do you keep asking questions? You know, the funniest thing was when I was in my CFO role, if people didn't ask me questions, I knew that they were disengaged, because asking questions, you knew that they were engaged. You knew that they were looking for a better way of doing things. One of the questions I always asked when I went into any new role, I would ask people, my employees, why do you do that? And the answer to that question was normally, we've always done it that way. And I would say, why have you always done it that way? And they would go, because we've always done it that way. So they weren't asking questions. They weren't deep diving into, why are we doing this? Is it actually necessary? Is there a better way of doing things? And that's the question that always ask. Start asking, is there a better way? Is there a better way? Is there a better way? That's how you create your better everyday life, through asking questions. That's how I created my Beyond Loss programs. I looked at what was there. There wasn't much. Sure, there was a lot of guides on these are the stages of grief, but they weren't telling you how to move beyond. That wasn't telling you how to create your better everyday life, how to go, right, this has happened. What do I do now? Ask. It's so important. And then we're going to move on to the fifth one, as I'm quickly running out of time. This has been so much fun. I hope you're enjoying it. To take risks on one's behalf instead of being only secure and not rocking the boat. How amazing is that? To take risks on your behalf instead of being secure and not rocking the boat. So often we don't take those risks. You know, I can think back to so many people in their life. They're stuck in this dead end job. They hate it, but they have a mortgage they've got to pay. They've got the kids' school fees they've got to pay. They've got to put food on the table. They've got to clothe their family. So they're not about to take any risks. They're not about to rock the boat. They're just going to come to work and they're just going to suck it up, and they're going to wonder why their shoulders are drooping and drooping and drooping. They're going to wonder why they're getting sick and why they're not living and loving their lives and why they look older than they do. It's because they haven't taken any risks. They're just playing it safe. They have all these great ideas, but it's like, nah, I'm stuck where I am. And that's not living and loving your life. Living and loving your life is achieving all of your dreams. And to achieve your dreams, you've got to take some risks. You've got to get out there and you've got to go, do you know what? I'm going to back me. I'm going to just see what happens, because I really want to live and love my life. I want to get out there and I want to do this. I'm so driven to do this. What do you think I'm doing? I could have stayed as a CFO, certainly would have earned a lot more money, certainly would have been more financially secure than what I am at this moment, but that wouldn't have been me. I would have been slowly eating away. I wouldn't be healthy as I am now. I know, because from the inside out, I would have been eaten away because I was in this job that I wasn't living and loving. I wasn't using my voice like I am now. I wasn't sharing my wisdom. I wasn't gaining the wisdom that I am continually gaining every day. Wouldn't have been reading these amazing books and getting out there and looking for a new perspective, looking at the horizon and going, infinite possibilities. No, I would have been very limited. And that's what life is about you knowing that there's infinite possibilities. But it all comes back to what you see and hear, what you say, what you feel and think, the questions you ask, and then you taking those risks so that you can create that better everyday life. So that when you do move on to your next adventure, And even though the date's been set, as we said earlier, we don't know when that date is coming. But when you do move on to that next adventure, you are going to know that I did it. I lived and loved my life. I did everything I wanted to do. Sure, it wasn't easy, but I did it. And through doing it, I left this world a little bit better than how I found it. And isn't that why we're all here? Don't you think that's why we're all here? I don't know. Tell me. That's what I think. That's what I feel. That's what I love. Okay. People are so stuck because they've been told to play it safe, Christine. Oh, thank you, Afonzi. Right. Thank you so much. That's an important reminder in my life to take the leap of faith and move forward. Good on you, Robin. So are there any more questions? I've got a few minutes left. Got to the end. Didn't know where I was. I just love this. I start with a theme and then I don't have anything planned. You can probably tell that. I sort of have a little, like I have obviously those 5 steps planned, but I haven't deep dived into what I'm going to say about each and every one of them. I allow for your questions, and I just go with the flow. But you know what happens before I come on? I want to tell you, I say a little, is it a prayer? Is it a it's not a saying, and it's sort of a prayer, but it's a conversation. And I actually stand here and I actually say, Father, Mother, God, creator of all that is, thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for guiding me in on what to say, in how to show up, in how to be here for everyone who comes today. Thank you for everything you do for me. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for your guidance. I love you. I am grateful. Please stay with me. And then I come on. That's as simple as what I do. And it's because I know that we are guided and protected. And I will always be guided and protected, no matter what happens. And the beautiful thing about it is when we know that, it's different. And a knowing is different from a belief. A knowing is you just know it in every single trillion, 70 trillion cells or something like that in our body. So I know it in every single one of those cells that this is right, that we are guided and we are protected. And I know that one of my guides is definitely Dan and my dad, who have, passed away. One was 27 and one was 77 when they passed away. But they're always around. They're always with us and they're always like egging you on. They become your greatest fans. And we all have past loved ones. We have to. We're generational. So it's really important that if you do get stuck in any part of your life, for you to start asking those questions and start talking to them. Ask them for a sign. Oh, believe me, they will show up in so many ways. And it's incredible. They will continually show up. I've seen Dan on number plates. I've seen Dan on buildings. I've even seen them on the pavement. Many years ago, I think it was like 2014, I was doing a women's retreat in New Zealand. And my girlfriend and I, we went out for our morning walk before it started. And she decided she wanted to run back. And I said, well, you run back. I'm going to walk back. I'm happy to be by myself for a little while. So that's what I did. I walked back and then for some reason, I looked down at the pavement and obviously someone had written Dan when the cement was wet and he just, it was upside down. So I turned around, I took the photo. I went back and I showed everyone. And I said, this was his sign giving me a tick for that I was in the right place. So there's always signs, no matter what you find. There are always signs for them giving you the thumbs up for what's happening in your life or what you're doing or where you're at. So know that you are, just like me, guided and protected. You're loved. You have someone who has your back. And the more that you know that, the more the things that will happen. But you got to start talking to them, asking for guidance, asking for direction. There's so many easy ways for you to be able to get it. We live in the world of information. And as always, reach out. Like, I am just literally an email or a phone call away. And I'm more than happy to have a little chat with you. But I will tell you that I will guide you into maybe my program, maybe someone else's program. Which brings me to Revitalize Your Life, which is a program that I developed earlier this year. And the reason that I developed it was because I kept finding that people are so disconnected from themselves. They couldn't make a decision on how to move forward. They're sort of stuck in their tracks because they just don't want to make the wrong or the right decision. Like, they want to make the right decision, and they're scared that whatever decision they make will be wrong and they've wasted time or money or whatever it is. So what I found was it's really important for you to be connected to who you are. To revitalize your life, you need to start to deep dive into each area of this, different areas of your life. And I created a 45-day series where each day you get a new awareness for you to have a look at. And there's exercises attached with it because you've got to take action, right? You can't just read it and not take action. And a lot of the time the action is for you to answer questions, or for you to journal, or for you to do an activity. And it, as I said, they take no more than 45 minutes. And I purposely designed that 45 days, 45 activities, no more than 45 minutes each day. And if you tell me you can't find 45 minutes each day, I'm going to tell you, BS, you can. Get up an hour earlier, watch an hour less of TV, stop wasting time on social media or doing something. Just, you can easily find 45 minutes in a day, right? Give me your calendar and I will find you a minimum of 10 hours a week. More than enough time. So, but I purposely wanted it to go to people who require it, because I got sick and tired of people telling me I can't find that money. And it's BS. You can find the money. But I purposely have made it $1 a day. Now, if you can't find $1 a day, there is something seriously wrong. Give up 4 coffees a week and you'll have more than enough money. So what it is, it's $45 in total for 45 days. Now, here is, let me bring this up here. That is the link that you can go to, and I'll just also copy it and put it into the chat here, because if you are sitting around, not living and loving your life and sitting there with people who are not as ideal, who are not vibrating the way that you are, it's time for you to figure out that you are the most important person in your life. Now, if you don't think you're the most important person in your life, there's something seriously wrong, because I'm here to tell you, you are the only person you are going to spend your entire life with. So now is the time for you to realize that there is no one else in your entire life who is more important than you. There is no one else you have ever spent 24/7 with every single week of your life. Only you. So it's time for you to start to realize that what you see and hear, what you say, what you listen to, the questions you ask, you matter. You matter. And it's really important for you to start to realize that. So it's time. It's time for you to revitalize your life. It's time for you to embrace these 5 wisdoms that I have shared with you today. And I will post a list of them down here right now. Let me just get my copies up. So please realize that you are the most important person in your life. And it's time for you to start to put you first. It's time for you to become your own best friend. So thank you for being here. Look at that, right on time. Thank you for being here. I look forward to seeing you here again next week, Mondays at noon AES time, Australian Eastern Standard Time. Bye, everyone. Have a most amazing week. And know that if you have any questions, I am always here and available. Bye, everybody.